In other aspects of my life, I feel like we could maybe create a game that's similar to that, because like I like the idea of drinking enough water and drinking my green smoothie and taking my vitamins and exercising and all those things, and just doing them because it's fun to do them, not because I'm not healthy, but just because.
Well, in the same way that this game took you from the subject of debt into the feeling of freedom. So a process like that could take you from a condition of the way your body currently is to a feeling of vitality. So you're shooting for something that shifts your feeling of vitality. So what do you suggest? What's the inspiration that's coming?
So the inspiration that's coming is this feeling of invincibility, of feeling excited, of feeling vital and full of life and excitement, and in knowing that I, every day, am doing those things that my body needs.
All right, so let's take the path of least resistance about this. So start at some point relative to the needs of your body. Just begin a dialogue with us about the needs of your body. Say something, and let's carve out or identify the path of least resistance.
So eating vegetables is good for my body.
All right, so that's an activity that may have resistance within it. You may say it takes an action, they sometimes are difficult to find, the preparation of them is not always in my control. In other words, do you find any resistance that is already underway relative to that?
Sometimes.
All right, so now reach for a path of less resistance. What might you say about the vitality of your body that's general enough that it doesn't challenge anything? That's how you know that you're finding a path of lesser resistance, because the challenge feels less. Sometimes in the beginning, that's the only way you can tell it's less resistance. The challenge feels less. After a while, the momentum will be so strong that there's no challenge at all, and you'll just be romping in the direction of who you really are. But in the beginning, sometimes the path of least resistance just feels like it's a little less resistance. And that really may not be the best idea in the world, but it really is the reason we call it the path of least resistance, rather than a name that would be better, which is the path of most allowance. It's the same thing. We ought to be calling it the path of most allowance, but it translates easier for you in the beginning of the game as the path of least resistance. You see what we're getting at? So what is a less resistant thought? You're talking about eating vegetables, but the thing that's interesting about that is that you've come to this premise that you're not as vital or alive or as healthy or whatever as you want to be. So you're going to take this condition or this action in order to make that so. So there's a little offness in this already. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah.
So if you can start from the feeling place of what you're shooting for, because everything that everyone wants, whether it's a material object, a bodily condition, a state of being, a pile of money, a relationship, a circumstance or event, it doesn't matter what it is, in every case the reason that you want it is because you believe you will feel better in the having of it. So apart from the delicious nature of vegetables, and they can feel that way once you're moving with them, what is the intent of this? Isn't it vitality, physical well-being?
Yes.
So
lightness, fun, just
rather than starting with that behavior, which may have resistance about it, start with the more general statement and let that vibration translate, because your inner being knows what you're reaching for. The fact that you said I should eat more vegetables caused the true desire to activate and sources in on it. So in the moment that you say I should do more of this because, Source knows exactly what it is you're asking for. Your inner being knows exactly what it is you want and activates that end of the stick. Now that end of the stick is more active because of whatever you're focused upon. Now it's easier for you to find your way down that path once you get in the vicinity. So now you're becoming oriented as a result of these conversations that we're having here to not be so eager to jump into the action, but instead to get to a place that's easier to get, which is the emotional place. So it's the emotion of feeling better. It's the emotion of more vitality. So focus there. Say something about, I like feeling fueled. I know that my body knows what to do. I really don't direct my body that much. My body is really resilient. My body makes fuel of whatever I consume. My body is really efficient at taking what I give it and making the best of it. My body does a good job of making the best of what I give it. I like the idea of the cells of my body letting me know more and more what they are wanting. I think I'll follow my cravings a little more. My cravings that come from a place of alignment. Not my craving that comes from frustration. My craving that comes from a feeling of vitality. You see what we're getting at? So then, how do those words feel? There's not much resistance in those. My body knows what to do. My body does it well. My inner being knows what my body wants and needs. My inner being knows what my cells are asking for. My inner being knows exactly what nutrients my body is asking for. My inner being knows everything about this chemical factory that is my body. My inner being knows exactly what foods that I have access to in the vicinity where I am, my body is most likely to translate in this chemistry that is my body into the vitality that I'm seeking. You just couldn't sort that stuff out yourself. You just can't read enough charts about those different nutrients, and when you try, you get your nutrients often out of whack, so that they're competing with one another. Or have you ever been to one of those stores where you say, I want this, and they say, well, then you're going to want some of this too. You're going to want some of this too. You don't just take that, because if you just take that, some of them sort of kind of understand it, but nobody understands your body like your inner being does. No one understands your intentions like your inner being does. No one knows what the path of least resistance to the vitality you seek is like your inner being does. So can you see how your work is not to figure out what to eat? Your work is to figure out how you want to feel and find some way of feeling that way. So you could get off the subject of food altogether and get on the subject of happy. And in that happy state, now you're in the receptive mode, and now everything that is important to you will be received by you because you're in the receptive mode. So now impulses, what you want to call coincidences, because they are incidences that coincide. These coincidences, the impulses, the things that are offered to you, the way you feel about it, the things that light you up, the things that don't so much. There are all kinds of things that you have decided not to allow yourself to ingest that would benefit you in terms of your chemical factory. We're surprised you can find anything to eat.
Yeah, right.
But if you will decide how you want to feel, and do that consistently. Now, could a person who hasn't been doing that trust that if they just follow their impulses, they'll be right on the track? At first, maybe not so much, but it's better to follow your impulses than it is to second guess yourself. And it's better to follow your impulses than to do what somebody else is telling you to do, because it is only in the following of your impulses that you're ever going to be able to work out your relationship with who you're following. You hear that? You sort of kind of want to decide who it is you're following anyway. Who are you following? Are you following the mainstream? Are you following those who are writing articles and showing you pictures that don't have anything to do with you? What is the benefit of discovering your own guidance? We think it's everything, you see.
How do I get to a place where I can...
By not needing to get to that place.
Not needing, okay, just staying where I am. But it's...
By being where you are, you get to any place that you want to be through the path of least resistance. Just say that to yourself over and over again. So now, ask that question again and go as far as you wanted to go. We'll cut you off at just the appropriate time.
So how do I get to that place where I can know... There's so much information that I have in my mind about nutrition. How do I make the difference between my instinct and broccoli is good for you, right? Like, how can... They're both in...
That's what we meant when we said for a while, you just got to follow the impulse. You got to follow the impulse. Follow the impulse to feel good. The best way to discover the path relative to something specific like food is to allow yourself to focus upon other things that aren't about that until you have discovered the consistent vibe of alignment no matter what. Start with easy things. Start with the things that it's easy to feel good about. That's why meditation is so powerful. Meditation clears your vibration. Having a good night's sleep clears the law of attraction patterns. The best way to modify beliefs is to focus generally upon subjects where you don't feel you have a need to modify the belief. Because when you hit things head on, that's when you just activate what you already think about it. And that's when you begin attracting a whole lot of other people that have a whole lot of things that they think about that. And that's what sort of makes you crazy. Then you don't know what to do.